Tennis and by extension Pong have been around since the dawn of video games. Pong was released in 1972 and it's just as fun in today in 2024 as it is back in 1972, and it endures the test of time because it's pure gameplay. You can't passively play a Pong game because you're in gameplay every single second of every single match. Tennistronic is the latest game to try a Pong variant, and it puts it in a futuristic Tron-like environment and aesthetic setting, but it's still one player versus one player trying to bat the ball past the opponent, and first to 15 wins. Tennistronic, which launches in early access today, does nothing to change any of the core gameplay mechanics of Pong, and so it really is a retro throwback to pure skill-based Pong. And that is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it means that it struggles, apart from its aesthetic, to distinguish itself out from the crowd. It does offer one specific key difference, and that's around the fact that every time you hit the ball back, it gets faster and faster progressively over time. But there's two ways that you can use that to potentially your advantage. The first is if you move your barrier, as you control the player that's kind of moving back and forth, to block the ball. If you hit the ball and you're stood still, the ball's speed only increases like really tinily. And at the beginning of a rally, it's barely noticeable, and then it gets more noticeable the longer the rally continues. However, you can then choose to unleash the speed of the ball by slicing into it and by hitting the ball as you move. And that makes the increase of speed much greater. But it then means that you're going to have to deal with that speed increase yourself. And so it's one of those be careful what you wish for scenarios, because it might be that the opponent can quite happily predict what's coming because they can see what you're doing, get themselves into a good position to be able to riposte it back at you, but you're then too far out of place to be able to continue the return serve. So you have to be tactical about when you're going to increase the ante. The problem with this is that quite often as you increase the ante by increasing the speed of the ball, is that everyone is then having to react and just smash into the ball because you're stuck at a constant speed, and therefore you can't decrease or slow it back down very easily, if at all, to be more manageable. And so each rally then just becomes a boiling over bubbly mess of who's going to break first, and that's fine, but it does mean that in Tennistronic getting a long rally going is nigh on impossible, because it just bubble explodes, and then you're like try to work it out. And that's fun from a multiplayer perspective, but it does lead to shorter, more disjointed playing sessions. I think Tennistronic could really do with some kind of MacGuffin that allows people to dive bomb and do like a lunge to save a ball at the last minute. And the reason why this is important is so much of Tennistronic's best parts are all related to the part where the ball's going absolutely nuts. But it's only there for a couple of services back and forth before the ball then gets too quick and your barrier that you're moving back and forth is stuck at a steady speed. And it's outran by the ball no matter what you do. And so, yes, I get that that's part of the tactics, but it means that that real visceral fun part of Tennistronic is fleeting and few and far between at the end of each rally, if you get there. So being able to extend that portion of the gameplay element means that this stands out from the crowd, it offers something slightly different, and it can become that kind of aggressive, for want of a better phrase, back and forth between people trying to keep the ball in check, doing lunges to save the ball, and keeping you in play in that kind of maddening speed for a little bit longer. And I think that's what Tennistronic could potentially lean into more, so that it becomes a better, more rounded experience for other gamers to play. Outside of that, I did run into a couple of issues where the ball got stuck up against the sides of the stadium whenever you was hitting something to the side of the stadium and the court itself. And yeah, the sound effects and things like that are very bare bones at the moment because this is an early access title, so I'd expect that polish to come later. Fundamentally, the game is fine, but it needs a je ne sais quoi to make it stand out from the crowd. And so this wouldn't be an ultimate recommendation for anyone straight out of the bat yet, but hopefully with a bit of polish it'll get there. Tennistronic is out now on Steam. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane network. a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/HigherPlaneNetwork. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.